So now we're going to start to cross the threshold into real major blues stuff, but there's a big warning here. I mean, big warning. Now we got to take one more step before we get there, and I hope you're enjoying this, like learning how to put different scales on top of your blues and how to get over to the major side. But how do we get the major blues to sound sad and like the blues? I know a lot of students have a hard time being like, hey man, I'm playing the major blues, it just doesn't sound right. Well, it's because you got to do this. All right, welcome back to another episode of StichMethod. I would like to say, watch this entire video. It's going to be pretty educational and really strong in terms of what we're going to learn. With that being said, let's get right down to it. The major blues is something that I find a lot of people actually avoid playing because we don't have a really strong understanding of what the major blues is. And so what this video is going to do is going to show you how to get to a real major blues sound, but by starting on the blues. And this video is also kind of unique because I'm going to be giving examples from my Blues Primer playlist, and I'll be listing the videos that they reference, and that whole playlist will be linked in the description below so that if you want to learn more about these subjects in a grander fashion, you can look at it. So let's talk. A major blues is really, it's a funny word because major means happy, pretty much, and blues means sad. And, you know, is it possible to play a happy, sad blues? And the answer is yes, and we'll talk about what that is specifically, but we're also going to talk about how to get to a major blues that sounds like the blues. And so here we go. Well, the first question we need to ask ourselves, and this is in my Blues Primer playlist, is what is the blues? Traditionally, the blues is, and a lot of StichMethod fans know this, the sound of minor pentatonics on top of a 1, 4, and 5 of either major chords or seventh chords. And so I'm going to play that for you really quickly. Here's an example of the minor pentatonic. I have an E blues set up right here. It's on a loop, and I'm just going to play some minor pentatonic stuff one time around so you can hear what I mean. If you want to learn more about this, the playlist below will have it. Here we go. So that was an example of a minor pentatonic on top of a 1, 4, and 5 in the blues. And that gives us the traditional sound of the blues. Now things start to break away. What we're going to do is we're going to start on the minor end, or so the minor pentatonic, which is the blues, and we're going to start to pull our sounds towards the major spectrum. So the first thing that you do, again, this next concept is in my Blues Primer playlist, excuse me, rogue mustache hair, is bringing in the major third of the chord being played, of the E chord. Really quickly, here is an E chord. Look at that note here. That's what makes this major. And that same note is here on the 13th fret. I can play an E chord up here or an E7. And so we're going to bring this note into the pentatonic. Now, this is our first taste of going from the blues into a major sound, where we take the minor third and bring in the major third. So now I'm going to play another 12-bar blues, same backing track with the minor pentatonic, but I'm going to bring in the major third here, and also here. Again, the videos in the Blues Primer playlist will have everything. Here we go. Simple enough. That was the minor pentatonic with the major third of the chord. Now that we went from like down home blues into a little bit more of a major sound just by bringing in the major third of the chord. The next step towards major, okay, the next step towards major is we're going to look at what we call the BB box. Now again, I have a video in my Blues Primer playlist about the BB box, and an E BB box is right here. Now the BB box is quite interesting because it retains a lot of the minor stuff because it has the 1, the 2, and the minor third, but it also has a major sixth. And this major sixth is what really makes things kind of sound happy. It's this major sixth that really is not in a minor pentatonic. And again, the video I referenced, it's a half-hour great video about the BB box, will show you. But listen to now how we're taking another step closer to a major sound with the BB box. You can hear a strong departure from the original minor pentatonic. This BB box sounds great, and it has elements of major stuff happening, but we're not there yet, okay? This isn't a major element that you can bring in, but we're not in a major blues. So now we're going to start to cross the threshold into real major blues stuff, but there's a big warning here. I mean, big warning. The first thing you got to realize is that the major blues really is when we put a major pentatonic on top of the 1, 4, and 5. Now, when we do this, something happens, all right? If we don't play it right, something happens, which is we get the sound of Southern rock. We will get the sound of Allman Brothers, Lynyrd Skynyrd when they're playing the blues. And it's not that it's wrong, it's just I don't equate the sound of a major blues with Southern rock, even though when you put a major pentatonic on top of a 1, 4, and 5, we start to hear Southern rock stuff, especially when we add some distortion to our guitar. So we add some distortion, and you're going to hear what it sounds like. All right, so I have a slight distortion on here. And now, let's just talk. We started on the minor pentatonic. Over our blues, we put the major third in the hybrid scale. Then we brought in the BB box, right? And now we're getting into major pentatonics. Now, the major pentatonic is going to sound the most major of them all. But like I said, if you throw distortion on, we do get Allman Brothers and Lynyrd Skynyrd. Check us out. Same backing track, but now with an E major pentatonic. Let me show that to you. It's just on the 9th fret, form 1. Again, all the stuff is in my Blues Primer playlist. So give it a listen. So you can see the major pentatonic with distortion leads you into the realm of Southern rock. Now, if we take the distortion off, which I'll do right now, it's safe to say that if you can play this cleanly, it's going to sound more like the blues than it is a Southern rock. So we're now across the threshold. We're into major land, but if you throw distortion on, you got Southern rock. If you keep it clean, you have a bluesy sound. It's still going to sound a little bit like Southern rock because we're not quite there yet, but let's give it a listen. All right, here's the same backing track, same major pentatonic, E major pentatonic, but now just clean guitar. Here we go. So you can hear, still has that Southern rock kind of feel, but still major blues-ish. Now we got to take one more step before we get there, and I hope you're enjoying this, like learning how to put different scales on top of your blues and how to get over to the major side. Again, do watch the whole video. The ending I think is quite cool. And so when you're playing major pentatonics, the idea is you have to bring in what's called the major hexatonic. Right? The hexatonic is not just the pentatonic. It is also the pentatonic with the 4, which is here and here. All right? And again, the Blues Primer playlist will totally have all the stuff absolutely nailed down. And so now listen to what happens when I play the hexatonic. I'm going to put my distortion back on, and this is the blues with a major hexatonic, and it's going to sound exactly like the Allman Brothers and Lynyrd Skynyrd. Here we go. Now, what's crazy is that the hexatonic really is used a lot in Southern rock, and the Southern rock really is the equation of a major blues. It's the major, the major pentatonic with the, on top of the ones, fours, and fives. And if you play it clean, you can kind of sound bluesy, but if you play it with distortion, you got the Southern rock sound right there. But how do we get the major blues to sound sad and like the blues? I'll show you. I'm going to take a quick break, I'm going to come back, and then we'll discuss how to make this happen. Alright, I'm back. And before I talk about the secret weapon, I do want to say you can also take your major and minor pentatonics and switch them around. You can always play, you know, a minor pentatonic and then switch into a little bit of major. But that's not playing the major blues. Alright? It's playing the minor pentatonic and putting some elements of the major blues, and I just totally spit. All right, and so there are plenty of videos, again, in my Blues Primer playlist that discuss all the options. And mixing and matching major and minor is an art form, but it's not the major blues. So what is the major blues? Well, it has to do with what's by my foot, which is my looper. That has nothing to do with us, our guitar players, just yet. It has to do with the backing track or the type of blues you're playing. This, what you're about to hear, is a Texas-style blues, which is counted in 6 instead of 4. Give it a listen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You get the point. All right, and so Texas-style blueses are in 6, hence Texas Flood by Stevie Ray is in a 6 count. Chicago-style blues is in a 4 count. And so if you take a Texas-style blues, all right, and again, I laid down, that was the E blues, just changed the timing. Went from Chicago in 4/4, Texas in 6/8, and now I'm playing my E major pentatonic. If you give it a listen, now we can make our major blues sound sad. It's actually the backing track or the timing of the blues. I'm going to load up my E major pentatonic. I'm going to get the backing track going. Pardon me, I'm just going to adjust my amp for a second. And now give this a listen. Here we go. There you have it. Now, I know I'm not crazy. I can hear this, all right? So if you listen, that, which was magical when you think about it, a major pentatonic on top of major 1/4s and 5s, sounding like the blues, a true major blues. It's not about mixing and matching major pentatonics. It's not about the hybrid blues scale. This is all about major. What it's about is a 6/8 blues with a major pentatonic. That's the enjoyable part, or the magical part of playing a true major blues and enjoying it. I know a lot of students have a hard time being like, hey man, I'm playing the major blues, it just doesn't sound right. Well, it's because you got to do this. And I want to say, if you want to practice all this stuff and you're enjoying it, please join me on my Patreon account of practice sessions and bonus lessons, where I will be making bonus videos on how to practice this stuff and get it into your bones. But I just want to show you, I'm going to play myself out. This whole entire video is about the major blues, which you saw the entire spectrum, but But if you want to get the real major blues sound, 6/8 on your backing track, Texas style. Throw the major pentatonic on top of it, and I'm telling you, magic. How great is that? So great. Thanks for being here. See you on another episode of StichMethod. Talk soon. Bye-bye.